So, welcome to another episode of Men Able Matters with me, Steve Whitten. I've got a fabulous guest today. We've never actually met, but we spoke a couple of weeks ago and we've joined forces on a fantastic Facebook group called Rebels and Rule Breakers. So, pretty much anything can happen in the next half hour. This lady is a fellow learning and development coach and consultant, and she specializes in the whole area of CVs, reboarding, and basically putting yourself in a good place to get that job that you've dreamed of. So welcome to Men Able Matters, Lisa Avins. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm very well. So Lisa, in good old-fashioned Men Able Matters style, if you could do me a favor and tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, what you do, and if you want to make all that last about 20 minutes, that'd be brilliant.
Absolutely. I'll just talk really slowly. So, as you said, I'm Lisa Avins and I am a learning and development professional. So everything from coaching to supporting people just to simply be the best they can be. And that is covering a broad range of things from personal and professional development through to actually I want a new job. So looking at CV writing, looking at how your brand image is and making sure that you're putting yourself out there in the best possible way. So I have developed a business called the Training Emporium. And that is basically, as it says on the tin, it's an emporium of training, all different manners of training. And one of the things I specialise in is that bite-size element. I think gone are the days where we're sat in a classroom for 8 hours looking at PowerPoint slides. Nobody wants that anymore. They want quick, they want sharp, and they want something that they can use the second from leaving a session with you. And that's what I specialise in. And also the power of conversations. Sometimes you can grow and develop by simply having a conversation with somebody who suddenly poses those questions that gives you that light bulb and you think, oh, why didn't I think of that? So that's what I do. So generally, I talk a lot.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I think I might have got that impression when we spoke before, to be fair. Which is great. That's fantastic. That's what makes a podcast. So how did you get into doing what you do then, Lisa? What's your background prior to that?
Many years ago, more years than I care to remember. I almost want to go once upon a time. I was a cleaner in St James's Hospital, so I'm from Leeds, and I still live in Leeds.
Right.
And and I decided actually it's not what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So I went to university. At a more mature age, I was probably the only student that was cleaning her toilets before coming into a lecture, not hungover. And I did a business degree, but being still quite young and naive, I thought I was going to walk into a manager's job because I had a business degree, and I didn't. So I ended up on the phones at British Gas as a customer service agent. But whilst I was there, one of the things that I fell in love with was talking to people and seeing people grow and seeing people develop. And I'm one of those stranger people in life where I just want to see people get on. I love it when people are successful. I'll always be kind of the cheerleader rather than the star of the show. And then an opportunity came to start as a trainer. To train people how to give excellent customer service to our wonderful customers at British Gas. And that was it. That was 15 years ago. And I absolutely fell in love with it. Being able to teach somebody something new, being able to give adults that newer lease of life. And throughout my career, I've done different elements of the learning and development role. So the physical designing a package and training it out, to evaluating it, to managing learning and development teams and giving them my skills for them to be successful, to the more strategic elements of working with businesses to make sure that people are at the top of their agenda. When this year hit, I'm sure it's probably no secret, but we've gone through a bit of a rubbish year. I reflected and decided to take a different track. Still staying learning and development, but how could I support people more? How could I make sure that people were getting what they needed? So it got me to thinking in terms of CVs, interview skills and reboarding when businesses kind of bring back their employees that have been on furlough. And it was just that way of giving back. We're here on this podcast today because we are talking about mental health and the impacts that's had. And it may be that we kind of go, okay, so what you do with learning and development and mental health, how does that link? you know, if you're passionate about supporting people become the best they can be and to develop personally and professionally, that really supports them with their outlook on themselves and how they feel about themselves day to day.
Yeah.
So that's when in August I developed the Training Emporium to be able to give that support.
Brilliant.
And
Now,
here today.
excellent. Yeah. Now I'm going to take you back a little bit and ask you to dig a bit into your sort of personal story, because one of the key things that I've found that sort of attracts people to what we're doing in MenAble is the fact that everyone that we speak to can empathize on the basis that they've had their own challenges at
Absolutely.
times, or the people around them have had issues and challenges. So, without wanting to put words in your mouth, if you is there what would you share of your own story that you think gives you the empathy to do what you've just described?
And you're quite right. And it's one of it is my key driver in terms of supporting wonderful organisations like yourself. So my husband is ex-military,
Hmm.
spent quite a lot of years in the military, and then came out and went into various different roles within kind of personal training, and is now an engineer. But the impact that leaving such an institution had on his mental health was huge. So he suffers with PTSD, and it's something that he will always suffer with.
Mm.
And what we found throughout our life together is that that has had an impact in terms of certain decisions he's made, certain actions that he's taken. So I had to kind of think, okay, do I walk away and think, I can't bother with this, I want an easy life? Or do actually I take a step back and realise that things happen for a reason, people take actions for a reason, and that sometimes they need that support, they need somebody there to go, it's okay, my hand's on the back of your neck, I'm here to support you, and we'll get through it. But I
Yeah.
tell you what, do it again and I'll kill you.
Yeah.
That conversation. But yeah, it's something that's close because it's something that never goes away. It's something that you live with day in and day out. And we're at the stage now where we can recognize those really dip days. There's certain, as everybody knows, there's certain triggers in terms of actions and behaviors, even down to the smallest thing of not having a shower for a couple of days. It's that instant reaction of, okay, we need to do something a bit different. We need to kind of maybe bubble wrap a little bit. Or on the other hand, we need to have a conversation and go, right, come on, let's get going. Let's get you back to where you need to be. And a little bit of tough love in the nicest possible way. So yeah, it's something that I am so passionate about, because there's so many people out there. And being ex-military, he was very much the mindset of, nah, this isn't happening to me, I don't need help, and would not talk about it, because that's not what men do. Men do it by themselves, and men get through it by themselves. But he would be open to tell anybody that actually his first step to recovery was getting help and was talking to somebody, and that somebody happened to be me in the first instance, but then that became professional help in the second instance. So it's just so important. But yeah, what MenAble is trying to do and is really passionate about is something that is so close to my heart.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. I mean, that's why I knew a little bit about that because we talked about it before. And I think it's important that, as we go through these, that, every one of us demonstrates where does that empathy come from? It's not just a great idea. Now, just beforehand, we talked a bit about on the CV front, linking a little bit to what you've just said there. One of the things that strikes me is that, putting a CV together, can be quite an exercise in sort of praising yourself and recognizing all the great things that you've done. And if you've got somebody who's not in that mindset, so like your husband, is you've just described how he was, if you've got somebody like that perhaps it's just like, oh well, who's interested in me, who's going to who's going to take me seriously, I've never done anything outstanding. How do you go from that to putting an amazing CV together?
It's really quite difficult at first, because like you say, your CV is about shouting about you, and I will always tell people nobody's going to shout louder about you than you yourself. But we don't like to do that, especially being that kind of introverted kind of, oh no, it's fine, it's just what I do, it's just what I do. Most people have that. But then if you put on top of that somebody who is so down on themselves and doesn't actually believe in anything they do or anything they've achieved, that's doubly hard. So a CV can be a really daunting project to start upon because it's asking you to note down everything you do.
Mm.
So there's a tendency to fall into the trap of, I worked here and I did this. Okay, we can probably get that from your job title, but what
Yeah.
did you do? How did you achieve it? So sometimes, even as difficult as it can be, it's a really cathartic exercise just to sit with a piece of flip chart and go, okay, what did you do, but how did you do it?
Mm.
And what were the successes? And those first couple of pieces are really difficult, but once you get into the role of it, it starts flowing and you can actually recognize that you've done some phenomenal things. Doesn't matter whether you've been a cleaner in the hospital. Hey, I was a cleaner in a hospital for 10 years. The skills I got from that were phenomenal. It doesn't matter if you're the CEO of your own company. The skills you get from that are phenomenal. It's about putting it down and getting it out of your head and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
rereading it and thinking, actually, I've done some great stuff, and then putting it on your CV. Would never recommend to anybody to sit down with a CV template and start writing it straight away
Mm.
because it will
Mm.
probably make you feel worse.
Yeah. And it's another area to get some help with, isn't it? Even if it's, somebody close to you or a friend or, a third party in some
Oh,
description to actually look over it and ask you questions and challenge you a bit.
yeah. Always ask why.
Mm.
I always use the mantra when you're looking over something and you're making statements about yourself. I always kind of ask, so what?
Mm.
Okay, so you worked for 15 years as a manager within a business. So what?
Yeah. Yeah.
What else? What else did you do? What else did you do? Who did you help? Who did you support? And if you are one of those people who needs to take the personableness out of it and put it onto a third party, okay, tell me what you did for other people then.
Mm. Mm.
Don't tell me about yourself. Tell me what you did for the people. As a manager, what did you do for the people? Within your role, what did you do for the people?
Mm.
Because what we can do then is pick apart the you and actually put it into what you've done rather than
Yeah.
what people have achieved. But
Yeah.
you're quite right in terms of getting help. Don't be afraid to show it to people. And even if you don't want your nearest and dearest to input, that's why there's people like me. I'm more than happy to support that anyway, because I will always go, okay, so what?
Yeah.
Tell
Yeah.
me more.
Yeah. That's an interesting point, actually, because that links to something that I've always um, had a bit of a battle with, I suppose, and that is that there's a growing feeling that if you're starting up a business, for example, never get family involved, never ask their opinion. And I'm wondering if it's the same in terms of writing a CV, because clearly they see one side of you. They see the person that's sort of closest to them, and they see the emotional side. Whereas actually in a CV, I suppose you're trying to demonstrate something slightly different, aren't you?
And they're not as likely to question it because, in family and close friends' eyes, number one, they don't want to hurt you by going, really? That's not that great. I wouldn't hire you.
Yeah.
Or they see the struggles you're going through, so they want to G you up and they want to say, that's brilliant. Get it out
Mm.
there. It's a great piece of
Mm.
work. But I think sometimes you need that constructive honesty of
Mm.
somebody to go, do you know what? That's great. Tell me more about that, or just expand on that, or so what?
Mm. Mm.
Mm.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that always, when I started doing more and more interviewing over the years, and in senior management roles that I had, one of the key things that I learned was the ability to ask a competency-based question. Now, what I would love is for more people to be prepared to be on the receiving end of a competency-based question. So is there a way of thinking about that when you're putting your CV together and thinking, when I get to interview, they're actually going to ask me, what I've done. They're not going to know, well, I'm not going to be interested in what I think, or what I would do. They want to know what I've done.
I think there's a really simple one for me that really helps you to align your thinking and really gets those examples across there. So whilst looking through your CV, if you just think STAR throughout, now STAR stands for situation. So what was the situation? What was the problem? The task, what were you or your team tasked to do? The action, so what action did you take?
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes it's very easy to fall into the trap of, well, we did this and we did that. Interviewers are not interested. They want to know what you did.
Mm-hmm.
So what action did you take? And what were the results? And what that helps you to do by keeping all of that in mind is, number one, to keep it quite succinct.
Mm-hmm.
And number one, to take it through a process so the interviewer can know exactly what was happening, why it was happening, what you did, and what the outcome was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in a competency-based question, we all dread that. Can you tell me a time when?
Yeah.
But by using the STAR model, you can go through kind of, okay, so if on your CV you've got, you project managed something, what was the project? What did you do? What were the results? And write them down on little cards. There's nothing that impresses me more when I interview somebody, that they've got little cards and notes. And I don't care if they say that into it. Oh, hang on a minute, can I just check my notes? Brilliant, because I know you're prepared for it and you're not winging it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so I think that's part of the whole kind of getting your mindset straight bit, isn't it? And getting prepared, and do that through your CV, do that through your preparation, and be prepared to go back over some of the stuff that you've done. And quite often we see that people, when they're feeling a bit bogged down and the world's on top of them, that they've actually lost sight of all the great things that they've either done or can do.
Absolutely. And by going through that, and it helps that memory as well. You know, we have so many thoughts day in and day out that loads of them just drop out of our ears. So things that we may have done 15, 20 years ago, we'll have forgotten. And I'll tell you the exact point, you'll remember those things when you've submitted your CV or you've left that interview. You kind of go,
Oh, I wish I'd said that.
I
Yeah,
should have
yeah,
said
yeah.
that. But by going through that process and writing it down,
Yeah.
you've got it there. And again, talk somebody through it. If you don't want it to be family and friends, use people such as myself to talk through it. They can question you a bit further on it, because that's what an interviewer is going to do. They're always going to question you further. They always want more information.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
seek out a person who will ask you those questions.
yeah. So what about a slightly earlier on in somebody's career? Let's say, not quite a school leaver, but maybe a university leaver or whatever. What would be your tips or advice for them putting this together, if they don't have that bank of experience to call on?
So there's a lot of people will take one CV template and use it for the whole of their life. What you need to do is match it to your skills and experience. So with, say, a university leaver or somebody who's maybe just had their first job and are now looking for a second job, it's about the skills and experience you have. What you don't want is a one-pager that goes, I've worked here from here, or I went to university from this time. Okay, let's put that at the bottom of your CV. Let's have a look at your skills. Let's do a personal statement. Who is Steve? What can Steve bring to our organisation with his skills, attributes? And then drill it down into the situation you've been in, so your STAR model, but linking that into personal attributes. So, problem solving. Every university student can problem solve because you've just been given an essay to write. That's a problem, answering that question. So you're a problem solver. And it's about wordplay. It's about looking at things you've done and putting them into the right words, because that's what a lot of recruiters do. So there's two ways that recruiters do things. They'll either physically look through your CV, which is fantastic, but more and more often now it gets put into an automated system, and that automated system will pull out keywords against the job description. So it's really important when you're thinking about your CV to adapt it to that job description. One of the things that can be quite soul destroying is either being ghosted and never hearing back from applications that you've made, or getting that, sorry, but on this occasion you've been unsuccessful, without any feedback. One of the ways to stop that is to make sure that every job you're applying for, you're changing your CV to match that job description. So you're hitting the words that are in that job description, words such as, proactive and integrity is a big thing that the working world is looking for at the moment. So really matching it in. And it's difficult if you've not written a CV before, or you're suddenly facing a situation where you haven't had to apply for a job for years and years. It's a really daunting world, and that's why I keep coming back to the same thing of, that's why people like me are here. Let me put those ideas in your head. Let's have a chat about it, because applying for jobs now is totally different to even 18 months ago.
Now we're going to get on to talking about this from an organizational point of view, from companies and stuff, because the other side of things that we touched on when we talked before was about reboarding, which is a new phrase on me, but that's part of this new normal thing now, isn't it, of people coming back having had an enforced furlough period, which for a lot of people may have ended up being 3 months holiday, and they're coming back in, and there's a responsibility on the organization to sort of get them back in and in the swing of things. But before we do that, you did actually, just before we started, you made a very kind offer about the CV
Ah,
writing thing, didn't you? So do you want to just remind me what that is?
yes. So I am more than happy to support anybody with writing their CV or going through their CV or giving feedback on their
Hmm.
CV, free of charge. I want to put that out there, just as a way of giving back, because people's mental health is a huge thing this year in terms of the changes that are made, in terms of redundancy situations, in terms of not knowing where they stand, or actually seeing that there's a great new job out there that really matches your skills. So I just want to offer that I'm willing to spend time with people to discuss their CV in terms of a consultation session. Again, no strings attached. You're not going to be lumbered with a big invoice to say, yeah, you've got a job now, here's my bill. It's just a way of making sure that people are the best they can be and giving them that confidence that they have got fantastic skills and they can get
Yeah.
back on the
Yeah.
job market. So I don't know whether you want me to kind of give you my email address or details, but I'm happy to share all of my
Well,
details and get in touch.
yeah. Yeah. What's the best way of getting in touch with you then that you would prefer? I mean, is it just through your LinkedIn profile perhaps, or?
Yeah, if they go through my LinkedIn profile, also happy for people to email me. That's
Okay. Yeah.
more than
Go for it.
fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if anybody wants to email me, it's lisa.avins, which is Avins, at outlook.com. And you can find me on LinkedIn under Lisa Avins. As far as I'm aware, there's no other Lisa Avins out there, so you'll recognise me.
Yeah. Okay. And just in case that goes viral, just put it out there that you don't need a water cooler or a smart meter or any of the other things that you're going to get bombarded. Now you've given,
No, I don't need anything. I'm not looking to buy anything. I'm looking to give, so
yeah,
nope.
that's a genuine offer that you want people to come to you if they need help and support.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so on the business side of it, then, so a business has had to furlough their staff, or they've bringing in new people or whatever, and you've got this phrase of reboarding, haven't you? Which tell me a bit about that and what that means for a business.
So there's one date that's etched in everybody's mind this year, and I think it's going to turn into that phrase of where were you when Kennedy was assassinated?
Hmm.
And that's the 23rd of March. Where were you when the country got shut down?
Hmm.
And on that 23rd of March, many people were put into a situation and we started using a word that we had no idea what it meant. So suddenly we were furloughed. Okay, so you're paying me to be at home but not work. I'm not going to lose my job. Okay,
Yeah.
this feels a bit weird.
Mm.
And at first, I think it was a way for businesses to have a bit of breathing space to be able to work out what their plan was, how they were going to keep their people secure. And obviously, it was the country's way of saying, stay at home and let's try and get the COVID virus under control. It's gone on a lot longer than we could possibly have imagined. And we're in a situation now, nearly 10 months later, where people are still furloughed. And basically means that they've probably had very little contact from their colleagues, probably had very little contact from their line manager, still probably in the mindset that they've still got a job. But what we're facing now is anxiety and stress levels being increased because people are slowly going back to work. If you've been out of work for that length of time, as strong as you think you might be, that is going to cause anxiety. Can I still do my job?
Mm-hmm.
Am I still going to enjoy my job? There's also, for me, in businesses, a little bit of those who were furloughed and those who weren't furloughed, which again is, well, how come I was furloughed, but half of my team weren't? Does that mean I'm not as good at my job? Am I going to get made redundant? Is there going to be extra pressure when I go back to work?
Right.
So all of these thoughts are going around people's heads. So businesses and leaders within businesses need to make sure that there is an absolutely firm reboarding process. Now, we all know about onboarding. When you start a new job and you get your laptop and you sign your contract and you might get a little gift bag to say, welcome to the company. That's onboarding. Reboarding is actually, we need to do a very similar thing to say, hey, Steve, we know you've been off for 8 months. Welcome back. We're going to go through a few days session. There's things on furlough we can do prior to people walking back in that business to make them feel like part of the team again. There may be an element of retraining that's needed because, we forget things. We're too busy doing Joe Wicks on a morning to be able to remember how to make a sale or to run as we normally would within the workplace. So we need to make people feel reassured that actually We're not expecting you to work at 100% of your capacity. Businesses potentially need to look at if they run through KPIs and targets. Do we do that staggered? It's all about putting those people first and making sure their reintegration back into the business is a key priority, because otherwise you're going to see your sickness levels go up and you're going to see people really suffering with their mental health because it's such a huge change.
Do you know what? This is fascinating because obviously Menable is born out of the automotive industry. And again, we were having a conversation just before we started about the challenge of changing cultures. And I had somebody said to me yesterday, but this is just so huge. Where do you start? And I said, well, yeah, but there are a million reasons for not doing it, and we're not going to take any one of them and say, oh, well, let's not bother then. And exactly what you're just describing there is one of them, is the culture of, at some point managers will be taking a view that the business has been shut for 3 months. The minute we start, we need to literally be on full pelt and going at, the rate that we were going on the 22nd of March. And you're spot on, because that's an expectation of the business, but you bring somebody who's just spent 4 months sitting in their garden.
Yeah.
That ain't going to be an easy transition, is it?
Absolutely not. And what we've got to keep considering is that people are still fearful. We're not out of a pandemic. Yes, it's wonderful news as a vaccine, but people are actually anxious now about leaving their home. I talk to people who haven't been out of their home for a full week, not even into the garden, and the thought of going to the shop is making them anxious. So actually being out of your house for an 8, 10, 12-hour shift, that's a huge mental change to get back into a routine. So businesses can even help by helping people get back into a routine. You may not be in work, but actually at 8 o'clock, Steve, let's have a Monday morning meeting. Let's have a call. You have to get up. You have to get showered. You have to get ready for work. Because even that is a huge mindset change in itself.
Yeah.
And we've got to support that. This goes much further than just saying, get in, get your bums on your seat and get your targets done.
Yeah.
Because businesses will fail if that happens.
Have you worked in a car dealership? Because that's pretty much exactly how it's been.
I've worked in construction.
Right. That was exactly the point. That's exactly what I can imagine. Not everywhere, but in a lot of cases, that's what it would have been. Right. We're open now, and whatever day it is, 1st of June, 2nd of December, whatever, we're open now. Everyone back. Crack on as you were before.
There's been a lot of focus throughout each lockdown. I mean, we're at the end of lockdown 2.0, but we're not really, because majority of us are in tier 3. And there was a lot of focus on people's mental health during lockdown because it was such a big change. You've suddenly gone from working and doing what we want and going out to restaurants and going on holiday to being in 4 walls. And that was amazing. That was fantastic. But we now need to shift that focus on people getting back into work. For some people, even getting on a bus is going to be horrendous because they haven't had to do that for so long. And we've got to be sensitive.
Especially if you're the driver.
Well, yeah, exactly. Exactly. But I think people need to recognise that there is support out there. I'm happy to talk to any business to help them write a reboarding process. There's support out there from wonderful people such as yourself. We've been able to say, let's support your people from a mental health point of view. And people need to get on board with that. That's how they're going to, as well, putting it more into a business perspective, that's how they're going to increase engagement. That's how they're going to hit their targets quicker, because people feel supported, people feel looked after, so they're actually going to become more loyal and actually drive themselves to get back to that match fit level quicker.
Yeah. Do you know what? It's a fascinating subject. I think there's probably room for us to talk about this on another podcast, to be fair, and keep this conversation going about reboarding, because all through lockdown, I've known people whose wives have had babies. Babies that were due before lockdown but have been born during lockdown. I know people whose relationships have broken down. I know people who have got themselves, really quite anxious about their debt situation and in their insecurities and everything else. And as you rightly say, what we can't do is a disservice to these people and just expect them to drop back into a business and just crack on like they did before.
Absolutely. Absolutely, and I think the more support we can offer,
Mm.
the better. And just thinking about that, I've got a lot of connections within Step Change Debt Charity, so that might be something that we can explore in
Hmm.
terms of getting them to do a podcast or putting some support and linking that with
Yeah,
Menable, because I know a lot of people at the moment are really worried about the finances, and that's another extra pressure.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, indeed. Okay, well, Lisa, look, you've given us your email address, but if there are organisations out there who want to talk to you about this whole reboarding concept, which I think is great. I mean, I think there's something that many organisations need to do. What's the best way for them to contact you, or just to see what you're about?
And again, to email me or to get in touch through LinkedIn,
Hmm.
have a look through my LinkedIn profile and look from there. I do have a website coming, big launch in January, very exciting. So as soon as that's launched, there will be a website for people to be able to go to and have a look.
Okay. Do you want to give us the address of that now, just in case anyone's watching this podcast in January and then it's already done?
Yes, so it's
Hmm.
www.thetrainingporium.co.uk.
So that's the word. So it's the training porium.
Porium,
Right.
yes,
Okay. .co.uk.
yes.
Perfect. Nice one. Okay. So Lisa, just before we go then, any quick top tips for, anything that you've talked about so far? So your CVs, the reboarding, what organizations can be doing to support people with their mental health related issues as they come back and, hopefully things start getting back to normal. What would be your top tips?
Just be honest.
Hmm.
Just recognize how you're feeling. If the time has come for you to write a CV or to get yourself back out there in the job market, remember it's quite a long process, and don't be frightened and think you have to sit down with a CV template and write it in one.
Hmm.
Just do some kind of word storming, just do some playing about, and contact me. Let me help you do that. And just take care of yourself. Recognize that actually what you're about to embark on is such a big leap. And
Yeah.
that's okay to recognize that. There's a lot of support around you. So just come and have a virtual coffee and a chat.
Yeah. Now, on the virtual coffee, you've got to show us what's on this cup. We talked about, just to finish, keep calm, Lisa. Does that say? And
It does. Listen
listen,
to take that.
listen to take that.
Top
Well,
tip of the day: if you're feeling low, get your music on, have a dance out in your front room. I guarantee it'll make you feel better.
yeah, yeah. And just remember that, if you go back and your boss is a bit tough with you, and they haven't got a reboarding process, whatever he said, whatever he did, he didn't mean it.
Boom! He's here all week.
Drop the mic.
Brilliant.
Oh, did you know I waited 45 minutes for that? Or thereabouts. So, Lisa, it's brilliant to chat to you. I'm delighted that you're kind of within our circle of people that we can refer people to through Menable, if you're up for that.
Absolutely.
And we'll keep talking, won't we? And
Of course.
yeah, definitely. And we'll keep plugging away at Rebels and Rule Breakers with Emma as well, who's another fantastic person. So, yeah, thank you so much for being on Menable Matters. And we'll
Pleasure.
catch up soon.
See you later.
Take care.